Good afternoon and welcome. Opening today's presentation, I would like to make your question, which you must be able to answer with utmost confidence and honesty. This question goes as follows. Can you mention one successful person or contact that you possess from which you may request advice for growth in life at any given time? If you do not have any contacts, you will learn how to acquire them because you possess them already. And for those who answered positively, can also benefit out of this great tool which you already possess, but you did not know how to use. By the end of this video, you will have a very different perspective on how to tackle and solve any problem that you may solve in life. This can be economical, or it can be in the sorts of relationships, any truly kind of problem. And so this presentation is dedicated to Mr. Earl Nightingale. Earl Nightingale was a famous radio speaker who mostly became famous out of his work of The Strangest Secret, from which he had dedicated most of his life to uncover or finally craft a formula for success, such as he had learned from Mr. Napoleon Hill, and he acted as well as an ambassador of his deep philosophy. Mr. Earl Nightingale, by the end of his life, had cracked this code, which came in the form of 6 simple words. These 6 simple words shall be recited unto you now, and I will request you to memorize them, and by the end of the video you should be able to recite them back at me as well. And do not forget them. This is something you should learn and memorize every single day. Repeat, repeat, and repeat. Take in mind, someone had dedicated their whole lives in order to crack this code. Remember the following 6 words. You become what you think about. You become what you think about. That is the conclusion of Mr. Earl Nightingale for success in life. Now you may ask, what does this have to do with having contacts who are successful? A very simple way to relate this is by saying that, as you may have heard from others, you become, in some sorts of degree, similar to who you relate with. But this is not the point of the video. This you already know pretty well. Today we're going to talk about the principle of the mastermind alliance, but not in the same way as Mr. Napoleon Hill had described or Mr. Earl Nightingale had described. In this video, we will maximize this tool along with the higher faculty of imagination. We will disclose it in more detail later, but now let's start with the basics. The mastermind alliance works as follows. This is when you gather a group of individuals, including yourself, for working towards the attainment of one specific goal or its solution if it's a problem, in the form of acting all together as one single mind by providing ideas, insight, experience. This can prove to be one of life's greatest troubleshooters. Mr. Napoleon Hill had done deep research on the life of more than 500 individuals which were the most successful in the whole history of humanity. Throughout all of these individuals, he noticed that creating a mastermind alliance was of great need and of a necessity, and he claimed it to be one of the laws of success. And Earl Nightingale proved it by also allying himself with people that took him high up on his career as a radio speaker, and he also promoted the use of the mastermind alliance. But this only applies with few specific conditions, and that is that one, it must be at least two people, including you, so you and someone else, in order to form one mastermind alliance. And the second is that this alliance must work with peace and harmony. The failure to do so will make this alliance to become brittle, and cooperation will not exist, which can be extremely difficult, and it's been proven to be difficult to maintain, especially if you act as the leader or moderator of these gatherings. Yet, what happens if we combine the concept of the mastermind along with the higher faculty of imagination? You end up with an extremely powerful tool that you already have. Mr. Napoleon Hill, at some stage in his book Think and Grow Rich, disclosed a personal truth that the beginning was of some degree of embarrassment for him to talk about openly. What Mr. Napoleon Hill would do at some stage of his life was to imagine having a conversation with a person which he admired. He started with the President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. That was what he would call the first member of his Eternal Mastermind. This is to use the idea or concept of the mastermind along with the higher faculty of imagination through thinking of having conversations with people who have gone through either similar problems in life but that they succeeded, and you may discover different ways of solving these problems. This acts truly as a great troubleshooter. And interestingly enough, for Mr. Napoleon Hill, he thought that it would all end just having this one-to-one with Mr. Abraham Lincoln. But he proved himself to be quite wrong rather rapidly, as more members started to join these gatherings without his fully understanding on how this was happening. At some stage he realized as well that by engaging on this process of imagination and relating subjects to other characters, that's why he started to invite, we could say, more people on these gatherings. Gatherings that would increase up to the number of 50 members, and he could recite the specific names in the specific order of each of how they arrived to the meeting, and each character will develop its own personality. This is also using the higher faculty of memory. And all of this is a healthy and positive use of these faculties, because as you imagine these members from which you have great admiration, and you start to make a eternal mastermind. We call it eternal because this can be both dead and living members. And even if they're living, they don't necessarily have to know about this, but as well, they may not be exactly the same as they are in real life. Most likely they will be similar to a close degree, but they will start to display exactly how you interpret them to be. So you start imagining having these gatherings with different members, different people who have achieved success in life. Mr. Napoleon Hill had learned about the story in detail of all of these members, so in a way he knew them pretty well. I need you to understand that by engaging in this act of imagination, what is also happening in the background is that you are creating new cells in your brain for troubleshooting problems. As when you say, I will think of how this X member will tackle this problem, your mentality changes into their perspective. Which gives you great insight. Sometimes you will truly have to change completely your mindset in order to tackle these problems. The whole idea is to truly think as if they were talking to you as well, and they will give you the advice truly on how they would solve that problem. The better you know these members, the more you have learned about them, the better this works. But it is also a possibility to just have an idea of someone that you truly admire, and as long as you have a concept which is positive about them, you will automatically start to get some sort of feedback. This is also likely to the fact that when you're doing this, which Mr. Napoleon Hill will do at times in a dark and silent room, allows for thinking, focusing on what's hidden in your subconscious mind. This is a body-mind diagram. As we have discussed earlier, you have your conscious mind and your subconscious. And there's a lot of information that came from your conscious mind and that was casted away into your subconscious, and it's very well deeply hidden. And by acting on this, it's a way to unlock and refresh yourself with this knowledge, especially in the way that these people would have solved these problems. And now, how or what kind of solutions these can bring, what kind of benefits rather, this comes in the form of ideas. This is solutions to really any problem. This will give you as well company. All of this uses an external driving force, energy, frequency that we have discussed earlier, as this is as well another interpretation of the use of your sixth sense of reception to acquire from infinite intelligence knowledge, ideas, resources, tools, anything really required to solve any problem. This is as well, yet again, another interpretation. As you sit in the dark, all of these solutions will start to come by as you start to focus on how this specific person would have solved it. And at times, you may be able to write full sentences that come in such a flow that you will be surprised how did they even come out of your mind. It is truly an extremely powerful tool which comes from a very deep source, and this is the faculty of your imagination. But if you remember, when you were a little kid, you were engaging a lot of times in this, and it's quite rooted to this company we're talking about. Did you ever feel as a little kid in company whenever you engaged on your endeavors with imaginary friends? This is because your cells in your brain really thought that you were in the company of others, because the subconscious mind does not have the capacity to tell what is real and what is fake, what is not real. In other words, when you do this, when you start to think about it, when you start to talk even, your subconscious will take it as something that is real, and it can be a quite powerful and strong experience. But lastly, something very interesting that will come out of this, and one of the greatest benefits, is that it will it takes the best out of you. You start to challenge yourself. You start to seek how to solve problems, how to troubleshoot any kind of circumstance. You start to approach life with dozens of different perspectives and possibilities. And it's not just one at a time. You will get hundreds of possible solutions from all of these members the more you start to develop this faculty of imagination. And by your surprise, you will realize that the faculty of memory will increase and improve drastically. You will be able to truly tell the personality of each of those members. You will remember clearly what exactly each of them said. And this will also bring you inspiration. You may as well require truly, and I must emphasize this, any kind of problem you have. Let's say that you are lacking having a dream or a definite chief purpose, a burning desire in your life. By engaging in your own mastermind, in your own eternal mastermind, you will also start digging through your memory to find those traces of your childhood on what kind of things truly made your heart become energized. What made you feel so joyful? What made you feel like you wanted to chase something till the very end? It can be solving problems to a relationship. How would they solve it? Or perhaps you can feel in company by just talking to them. You must use this wisely. It is a great and powerful tool. Your imagination is a gift that at many times we have been taught to suppress. Think about the greatest successful people you have learned in history or maybe from contemporary times. All of them share a great use of their faculty of imagination to think and project their infinite potential energy from ideas acquired from infinite intelligence and putting them into action, which is also important. You may acquire all of these positive traits, but you must also give your part. Treat these members of your Eternal Mastermind with the deepest of respect. And most importantly, you must act as if you were the highest version of yourself. You may have perhaps listened to this concept before. And you may start wondering, what does all of this have to do with that number 6 I gave you in the beginning? Are you able to recite these words? I will ask. And I'll ask you to try to do it now to yourself. Because the most powerful result of all of this is that by engaging on thoughts on these people, you start to absorb them. You start to think so much on how they would go through these things that you start to become on what you think about. You start to become like them. You start to think like them. You become a strategist, problem solver, someone with confidence, great speaker. It can be anyone, truly. It can be from the oldest philosophers to the most modern YouTube creator that inspires you. And you will truly start seeing results rapidly. You will become what you're thinking about. This is a deep truth that you must learn to accept. You must learn to embody. And by the use of these great faculties, you will find all problems at any given time, anywhere. Because this is always available at any given time and space. That's what also makes it eternal. You can be anywhere. You can close your eyes and imagine you're in a room that is as big as you may. You will ask them to sit around and you will memorize which seats they're taking, what kind of personalities they have, what they like, what they dislike, how they like to portray themselves. Regardless of where you are, at what time, when you're having a difficult time, you will always find company within yourself to solve any problem. This will act also as an exercise that I will invite you to engage by doing a very simple task. Very quickly, think of what success looks like in the form of one person. Immediately your brain will throw at you some names. Pick the very first one that comes out into your screen image, and I will suggest you to go into a dark, silent room If not, it can really work anywhere by closing your eyes and putting your attention on this. Just avoid crowded and noisy spaces. Your concentration will go away rather rapidly, and this will only cause frustration. If you find yourself in an empty, silent room, if it is dark, you may have your eyes open. If it's not dark and no means to make it dark, close your eyes and try to summon this person. Invite them in. Say, come in. And start talking to them. Say anything. And think of what kind of answer they will give you. It can be the most simple of things. As whatever kind of conversation you will always see to go through. But eventually, at some point, this will start reaching on their deepest of personalities. They will start to flourish and show you who they are, what makes them who they are. Try to engage into thinking only of one member, because I will tell you that surprisingly, many more members will try to make their way in as you start to have a deep conversation with this person. Be selective as well on who is joining this group. Think of, why should I invite this member? Why should this member come in? You are the leader of this Eternal Mastermind. Think of yourself as the highest version of yourself in these meetings. This is someone that is responsible. This is someone that is realized in the way that you think your own realization is. Because by doing this, you engage in two different kind of, we could say, rituals, which is one, using the tool of your imagination by creating the mastermind for troubleshooting, and second, by acting as if you're improving your self-image. You start to think about how the highest version of yourself interacts with a large group of people in real life. You will talk to them as if you were this person. And interestingly enough, when you're done with these meetings, which can easily reach an hour of extension, and when you go outside, you will feel refreshed and energized, perhaps a little bit confused because you really enjoyed it and you would like to go back there, but you realize that there is great potential on transforming these ideas and again this potential energy into action, into kinetic energy. Put it into practice. Go and talk with someone and try to align with this energy of who you were back then and how they would solve these problems. And remember, dearly, that truly you become what you think about. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed today's presentation. Be on well and take care.